So today I wanted to do a quick overview of why we do two cameras on a shoot and sort of how you can look at two camera shoots as a really efficient way to film. So I think the general idea of a lot of film interview shoots is that for the most part, people just don't want to do it, right? They're generally nervous or they're concerned about how long it's going to take or the efficiency. That's why stuff like AI video and UGC and stuff like Canva has really kind of taken a big step forward. And if you're going to have, a prominent brand, especially with personal branding, you have to be able to develop an understanding of how a professional video company works in that sense. It really is efficient. There's a thought that is inefficient, and I think that's just sort of a misnomer. So what I want to do here is give a quick sort of breakdown of how a two-camera interview shoot can be done very efficiently. And to start that, I want to sort of open the doors to the two different ways you can do that kind of film. Now, whether it's a scripted thing or it's Q&A or you're kind of reading off the cuff, there's two ways to approach it. The first is that you do the entire thing, point A to point B, as one take, right? So you just start, maybe you take a few seconds to breathe in between. In the case of like a teleprompter script read, you're looking at the lens and you're reading. You might have a few little mistakes in there. You may have to redo it a couple times.
But we do also offer virtual and hybrid sessions. I can hear the noise. That one came out of nowhere.
But it's a bit exhausting to do that. I've never liked putting the pressure on clients to do a full A to B script read. Now, some people do prefer it that way, people who generally don't like being distracted or just kind of want to get it done pretty quickly and don't care if they make a few mistakes.
I think we should just let it go.
You want to just let it go?
Yeah, just let it go.
We might not get through all this today.
I'm gonna kill you.
I hate to say.
I'm gonna kill you.
If that's the case, these are things you can talk about before you film. Ask client, how do you feel about doing this as one big segment, or in the case of what I usually do, which is many tiny segments. I call them like little micro takes. So that's what I'm gonna talk about, the micro takes approach. So let's say you have a 1-minute script. Let's say you have a teleprompter, it's 1 minute long. Instead of going from point A to point B and scrolling all the way down the screen, what if you're able to break it up in 10-second bunches? So you do your 10-second bunch for the first 10 seconds. Let's say you get it perfect, great, you go on to the second one. But let's say you messed like one word up in the first segment. Well, then just redo the first segment again and say the word better or be able to correct what you said, which was incorrect. That's a really efficient way to look at how we do this because, 3 different takes can have 3 different mistakes. It doesn't matter so long as they're different mistakes, right? As long as somewhere in those 3 takes, you combine everything and every part of it is covered, then you essentially have a perfect 10 seconds and you can move on to the next one. And that's very easy and efficient to do. So I wanted to show you a quick example of that and sort of give some more clarity as to why we do some other things. So those other things being multiple cameras, which you'll see here, camera 1, and that's camera 2. That's not only for style purposes, we do that for a reason. And additionally, B-roll footage. So you'll see here, this is the full video, there's B-roll footage. So on any shoot, you're gonna have what you call B-roll. B-roll is not just sort of this, complementary footage aspect. That's how most people see it, right? So in this situation here, we're talking about a therapy practice. We also want to see the therapy practice, see the rooms, see how it's designed, and see how comfortable it is. We also get footage because we can use it to cover things in the edit. So you'll see this is the editing timeline. This is the third layer, so the top layer. So everything up here takes the foreground. So we go to the second layer here. That's when we have the B-roll footage. So let's say, for example, we turn it off, we lose the B-roll footage, we have what's beneath it, which is the interview. So let's say beneath this B-roll footage, and we have examples of this here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna turn off the B-roll layer, we're gonna turn off the second layer, and you will notice something as we watch. You'll see that right there. It shifts. Right there. It's very subtle. Maybe in a modern 2025 world, people don't care about this, but in a professional world, we do care about it and we do see it, right? So camera 1, different take, you see it cut. You see talent moves around. So we don't want that. So we want to be able to cover that. So one approach that we could do is let's just move this over for a second. So let's say we went to camera 2 on the situation.
Therapy group. We're a green.
Perfect cut. Those are 2 different takes, but you wouldn't even know. That's the first option. Second option, which we actually went with in the video, is just to use B-roll to cover that edit. So here we are.
Therapy group. We're a
B-roll covers it. It doesn't matter what's going on beneath it, right? So, we could go in here, just as a bit of a joke. Let's go in here. Let's go into some color settings. Let's make it like extremely orange for no reason. You know, that's obviously pretty jarring, but so long as we have the B-roll there,
We're a
you don't know that it's
Brooklyn-based
orange.
therapy
It could be
practice
anything.
Serving adult
there could be a bunch of flies flying around the foreground. That wouldn't matter to me as a producer. I would know I'm just going to use some B-roll for that section. So again, consider that sort of approach when you consider your read-through. So you don't have to worry about making mistakes. You can make mistakes almost completely worryless, because me as the producer and any other producer is paying attention to your mistakes, and we're going to be able to just redo that one little mistake you make, clean it up, and then we move on to the next thing. So let's take a look at this. So this is actually, this is a great example. This is how we will film it. So what you'll see here is many different takes of sort of the same intro or the same aspects. So this is like the first 10 or 15 seconds of the video. So you'll see different takes here.
Hi, I'm Stephanie West.
An introduction,
Hi, I'm Stephanie West.
another introduction,
Hi, I'm Stephanie West.
another introduction.
We're a Greenpoint, Brooklyn-based.
We're a Greenpoint.
Hi, I'm Stephanie West.
Intro.
We're a Greenpoint.
We're a Greenpoint.
We are a Greenpoint.
We are a Greenpoint. So again, these are all very similar takes, but none of them are the same. They're all different takes. So that's why we go through it. And as a producer, I'll be listening and saying, well, you may have made a mistake on this one word. So let's just redo it again. As long as we fix that one word, then we have it. Then we can just move on and we never have to go back to it. We don't have to redo an A to B again. We have it. That 5 or 6 seconds is there. However we got to do it, whether it be a second camera or B-roll, it's all square. So again, it's very easy to do this. You don't have to worry about mistakes. Mistakes are almost good in a sense, because you know, we know how to redo things and we can get better takes of it. So the last thing I wanted to mention here is why these are colored. So every editor is going to have some sort of weird, quirky color scheme going on with how they do things. That's the case for me. Every one of these projects is going to have some sort of different thing going on. But in this situation, the red boxes, so the red rectangles, those are our editing clips. So again, these are different takes.
Hi, I'm Stephanie West.
That's the first rectangle.
Hi, I'm Stephanie West.
Second rectangle. So different takes. That's what these rectangles represent. Different chunks of time in the recording. So all the red ones here are takes that this is such a quirky thing, but it's like a 90% good take, which means, so any of the other takes, so there were some other takes, but maybe they had like a really glaring mistake, or I just didn't like the way it sounded. So those just get deleted. Those are removed from the tournament, if you will. Those are removed from the contest. So that is how I look at it. Like, these different takes are a contest, and they're competing for which one's gonna make the end video. So the red ones here are all ones that are like really pretty much perfect, except they have one tiny mistake. So we'll actually listen here for it.
Hi, I'm Stephanie West, Clinical Director and owner of West Therapy Group. We're a Greenpoint, Brooklyn-based therapy.
See, hear that little Brooklyn-based? That's the only mistake in the whole take. Otherwise, it's completely perfect. But that one little thing, I wouldn't like if that made it into the final edit. I would want that to be fixed. So that's why we do it again. And I don't even mention it sometimes. I'm not going to say like, oh, you said bass, like a little bit weird. You just redo it again and it's probably going to be fine. So let's listen to this one.
Hi, I'm Stephanie West, Clinical Director
Sounds
and
good.
owner of West Therapy Group. We're a Greenpoint, Brooklyn-based therapy.
See, Brooklyn bass sounds fine there. So if we had the first take, all we'd have to do is get the Brooklyn bass aspect in there, cut it around a bit with some B-roll or second camera, and it's done.
Therapy practice serving individuals, adults.
See, right there, that's okay. So right there, right up to that point, that's the mistake that makes it red. Maybe a little bit less than a 90% perfect take, but it has one just tiny mistake. So still, though, it makes the contest, it makes the second round, if you will, and makes it onto the cutting floor because the first part was so good. The ones that are yellow are completely perfect. There's no mistakes in them. So those are the ones that we're kind of leaning on to say, well, there's no problems here. It's all perfect. So we can use those pretty much without any worries. So this is going to be perfect.
Hi, I'm Stephanie West, owner and clinical director of West Therapy Group.
Perfect. Couldn't be, that's the one we use, I think, actually. It's perfect.
We're a Greenpoint, Brooklyn-based therapy practice serving adult
A little bit of a weird pronunciation there. That's got to be it.
individuals and couples with personalized, life-changing care.
There was a horn at the end. These are all things that we hear. So there was a little bit of a botched tongue situation earlier and then a weird horn at the end. So that was a relatively good take. It just had a few little things. So again, As long as one of those takes is good, even if there's a little blip, we just find a different one that doesn't have the blip. So that's kind of how you can look at it. So again, if you're considering doing some social media videos, doing some advertising, and you're looking at it and saying, well, I'm really afraid to do this whole film thing. I'm afraid of these big cameras and lights, and I think I'm gonna screw it up. The answer is, yeah, you are gonna screw it up. You can't just do it perfect every time. So this whole thing is really just focus on redoing your takes efficiently, and the producer will work with you to make sure you get the best takes. So I hope that helped out, and hope to talk to you guys soon.